Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining today. So we wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So continue with the looking at the Sapta Rishis. Now we're on the 11th Rishi. So Sapta Rishi means 7 Rishis, but every Manvantara has 7 Rishis, and sometimes they're different Rishis. So we're just looking at the other Rishis that are not in our Manvantara. So this is Kratu Rishi. He is considered to be the brain-born child of Lord Brahma. Having been brought into the world from Brahma's hand, he is one of the Saptarishis in Swambhuva Manvantara. So the first Manvantara in this day of Brahma. So Kratu married Prajapati Daksha's daughter Santati or Sanati. According to Bhagavad Puran, they had 60,000 children who come to be known as Valakyas, the pygmy sages. These are really interesting personalities. They actually follow the sun. The 60,000 sages are constantly with the sun. So these are really amazing sages, Valakyas. Kratu Rishi had two sisters named Punya and Satyavati. He likewise took birth in Vaivasvata Manvantara because of Lord Shiva's boon. I don't quite get that actually. How come he was also in the Swambhu Manu and Vaivasvata? Anyway, Kratu was a child of sage Kardam, so Kardam Muni and Devhuti. He adopted Rishi Agastya's child.
Rauchi means Kapila's father only, right?
Sorry?
Kardamani is Kapila's father only, right?
Ah, yes, absolutely right. So, and I was thinking they had loads of daughters, but they must have had a son as well called Kratu. But yes, well done, Riyaj. Good boy. He is known as one of the Bhagharvas, the descendants of Rishi Bhrigu. In Matsya Puran, the name of Kratu, Rishi's mother, is referenced as being Polami. Rishi Kratu is otherwise called one of the Vishwadevas. So Vishwadevas, there's a number of them: Kratu, Daksha, Vasu, Satya, Kalakama, Muni, Karaja, Manuja, Bija, and Rochanman. Let me just actually, 1 second, let me just pause this. Okay, so the Sanskrit term Kratu refers to Vedic ritual. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna states, I am the ritual, the sacrifice. Although Rishi Kratu is not specifically named in this sloka or purport, Bhagavad Gita 9:16, is often mentioned with respect to Kratu. So, oh yeah, you know that was.
Aho Katur Aham Yagya Swadaham Aham Oshadam Mantraham Aham Evajyam Aham Agni Aham Hutam. Translation: but it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, transcendental chant, and the butter and the fire.
And the offering.
And the offering.
Oh, you can't see that.
Oh, that's why I wanted to.
And in the purport, Prabhupada says the Vedic sacrifice known as Jyotistoma is also Krishna. And he is also the Mahayagya mentioned in the Smriti. The oblations offered to Pritalok, or the sacrifice performed to please a Pritalok, considered as a kind of drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna. And many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifice are also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna because fire is one of the 5 material elements and is therefore claimed as a separate energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in Karma Kanda division of the Vedas are in total also Krishna. In other words, those who engage in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. So this is one of the advantages of simply chanting the Maha Mantra as one of the daily spiritual practices. When we're doing that, because we're in connection with Krishna, it's as if we've come or are already doing everything that's recommended in the Vedic scriptures. Just like a 50-pound note already includes the 1-pound coin or the 5-pound note, the 10-pound note, the 20-pound note. So in the same way, chanting Lord's names, especially Lord Krishna, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, gives us the facility that we're already doing all of the various sacrifices, penances which are given in the scriptures. The story of Kratu Rishu's service to Lord Brahma as progenitor of the races involves a pastime with Rudra, Lord Shiva. Rudra inherited the role of the lord of the beasts, the wild and tame, including domestic cattle, pasus, and the beasts of the forest, magas. In this context, pasu designates primarily the domestic animals or cattle used as sacrificial beasts in yajna, and those regarded as possessions. The demigods had divided the beasts among themselves, but they excluded Rudra. Rudra therefore wished to punish them. When he was about to kill Prajapati, Prajapati promised to make him Pashupati, lord of the beasts, so Rudra refrained from killing him. When the demigods then proceeded to perform a sacrifice without Rudra, he attacked them. During the attack, he knocked out the teeth of Pushan and took out the eyes of Bhaga and severed the 2 testicles of Kratu. All the demigods who were reduced to condition of beasts then went pleading to Rudra. But he said in anger, "You have not given me a share of the sacrifice, though I was created before these gods. And because of this, I have deprived them of their knowledge and deformed them." They continued praising and trying to appease him. So Rudra said, "Let all of you be beasts, and I will be your lord, and then you will obtain release." The gods agreed to this. Thus Rudra became the lord of the beasts, Pashupati. He then restored Pushana's teeth, Bhaga's eyes, and Kratu's testicles. So this is from the Maitreya Samhita. It was after Kratu's testicles were restored that he married Daksha's daughter, Sanita, whose name means humility. They gave birth to 60,000 sons, known as the Valakyas or Balakyas. While great in number, their progeny were all pygmy sages, no bigger than the joint of a thumb. So thumb size, thumb size sages. According to the Brahmanda Puran, when the world was created from the cosmic egg, the Sapta Rishis came into being. So these great sages are there right from the beginning. This Purana also accounts for the 60,000 sons of Rishi Kratu. The Balakyas are described as being chaste, pious, and resplendent as the rays of the sun. All are brahmacharis and students of the Vedas. Kratu and Sanati are also said to have a daughter, Punya, also the name of Kratu's sister, and a daughter-in-law, Parvasa. Brahmin families claim their descendants from one or other of the Saptarishis. There are various lists of Saptarishis covering different ages, but those considered to be among the 8 primary Saptarishis are also those identified with the lines of Brahmin families. So what are these 8? Pregu Muni, Angaras, Marichi, Atri, Pashishta, Pulastya, Pulaha, and Kratu. So these are the 8. Among these 8 Rishi lineages, there are a few divisions corresponding to their progeny. The last 3 Rishis, Pulasya, Pulaha, and Kratu, on this list are said to not have produced true Brahmin stock. Because Pulasya was a progenitor of the Rakshasas, the Vanaras, Kingaras, and the Yakshas. Pulaha was a progenitor of the Kimpurushas, Pisachas, goblins, lions, tigers, and other animals. Kratu, according to some accounts, had no wife and remained celibate. There are other accounts, no doubt, referring to his different births, in which his fatherhood of the pygmy Valakyas with wife Sanati are mentioned. So the remainder 5 are regarded to have true Brahminical stock, whereas these 3 included progeny of different types of beasts, creatures. I think actually the Matsya Puran provides detailed information on Gotra Parva, Niraya, which determines the Gotras, the Vamsas, and ancestry of the human races. By tracing the lineage downward from Agni, we find that Kratu is mentioned under Agastya. So Agastya and then Brigu, like that. As Maharishi Kratu was childless, he adopted Agastya's son, Idvaha or Idmavaha. Thereafter, the lines of Kratu and Agastya Vamsh became unified. The Ashtika Parva 30, Ati Purva of the Mahabharata, which tells the story of how Garud saved Kratu's 60,000 Rishi sons. So, Shauti said, at the very touch by Garud of great might with his feet, the branch of the tree broke as it was caught by Garud. Casting his eyes around in wonder, he saw the Valakya Rishis hanging thereof with head downward and engaged in ascetic penances, reflecting that if the branch fell down, the Rishis would be slain. The mighty one held the elephant and the tortoise still more firmly with his claws, and from fear of slaying the Rishis and desiring of saving them, held that branch in his beak and rose on his wings. The great Rishis were struck with wonder of the sight of that great act, which was beyond even the power of the gods, and gave that mighty bird a name. And they said, as this ranger of the skies rises on its wings, bearing a heavy burden, let that foremost of birds, having snakes for his food, be called Garud, bearer of heavy weight. So these 60,000 Rishis gave the bird carrier of Vishnu his name, Garud. Garud, being instructed by his father Kashyap Rishi, took great care in delivering Kratu Rishi's sons to safety. His father warned him to take care with his task, because the Valakyas, supporting themselves by drinking the rays of the sun, might, if angry, blast thee. Accomplishing the task, Garud was blessed with great strength by the virtue of the great penances performed by the Valakyas. The 60,000 tiny Rishis then took themselves to the sacred Himavat mountain to continue their tapas. There is another interesting account of Kratu Rishi's sons, the Valakya Rishis, as given in Tamil literature. These accounts expand upon the Mahabharata references to the tiny Rishis supporting themselves by drinking the rays of the sun. The Valakyas are described as accompanying the sun in its daily travel in the sky. So they're really powerful sages. They serve to protect humanity by taking all the extra heat, in effect, serving as the embodiment of what modern science described as the ozone layer. So these Valakyas are actually helping control the heat of the sun. how it's impacting us. So really amazing seva. So we should thank them every single day. The tiny rishis are described as shining like bright lights because of their severe penance. So interesting. They're the original ozone layer. There is an appendix to the 8th mandal of Rigveda that is known as Valakya hymns. Some commentators have rejected them as interpolations, although many of the references mirror those found in the Mahabharata and Ramayana. In the ancient Tamil literature, it states that the Valakyas were born to Kratu and Kriya. Again, this is likely a reference to a different appearance of Kratu Rishi than that in which he is married to Daksha's daughter, Sanati. So because of the vastness of time, remember, we're only halfway through the day of Brahma. 156 trillion years have passed. So of course, these sages will have perhaps come back again in different bodies, like we have seen about many of the previous Sapta Rishis. The Tamil version, as summarized by author S. Swaminathan, states, once Kashyap did a yagya, fire sacrifice, to beget children. He invited all the devas and rishis to help him in the task. Everybody readily agreed. Mighty Indra, the king of heaven, brought wood for the sacrifice. Valakyas were emaciated due to severe penances. They were hardly able to lift anything but leaves. Even when they were moving leaves like ants, they fell into rainwater puddles because they were so tiny. It amused Indra, and he laughed loudly. Valakyas were very much offended. They made a vow to do a separate yajna to create another Indra. When Indra listened to their vows, he was afraid and he ran to Kashyap to explain what had happened. Kashyap lent a patient ear and warned that he could not stop the powerful Valakyas. But he gave an assurance to Indra that he would find a compromise. When he met Valakyas, he requested them to drop the yajna to create a new Indra. He also assured them that whoever they create will be the Indra of the birds, and Valakyas agreed to this new plan. After the yajna, Valakyas prasad, food offering, was given to Vinata, one of the two wives of Kashyap. She gave birth to 2 children, Aruna and the most powerful golden-hued eagle, Garud. Interesting. So they're actually the father of Garud. Long after this, Garud flew to Indralok to get Amrit and defeated Indra. Interesting. The second wife of Kashyap, Kratu, gave birth to the Nagas, or the snake race. Garud, on his way back, sat on the tree where Valakyas were doing penance. The tree broke into many branches, but Garud lifted all the sattvics with the branch and put them in a safe place. So this is the pastime we've already talked about. As Kratu Rishi himself is mind-born son of Lord Brahma, Manasaputra, Rigveda states that the Valakyas sprang from the hairs of Prajapati Brahma. Also known as Karvas, they are guardians of the chariot of the sun. Vishnu Puran thus describes them as pious, chaste, resplendent as the sun, rays of the sun. Likewise, Tamil literature clearly states that the service of Kratu Rishi's small sons is that they absorb the excess heat from the sun by traveling in front of him as he moves through the sky. So there you go. This is a sun god traveling on his chariot with the horses, and these are the 60,000 Valakyas absorbing the heat of the sun. And this is, I'm not sure, this is actually another sage. Forget that one. That's next one. So that's the end of the pastimes of Kratu. Interesting personality. Any questions, any comments? Okay, we can stop there. Kratu Muni, Kratu Rishi ki jai.